Want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to FMA Discussion. You heard it. We want the truth. And tonight we're going to be talking about some stuff that is regarding some truth, and that is a metric of whatever you teach as far as the balance of art and functionality. And we're going to have three guests on tonight. We got Dr. Tim, Dr. Ty Botting, and Growling Dog. You know, that crazy guy from Canada. And without further ado, I'm going to be bringing these guys up. Hey guys.
Hey,
Sorry, how's everybody doing? Rene looks like he's sleeping. We're gonna have to wake Rene up.
there you go.
Is he sleeping?
No, I'm
Or is
here.
he frozen? There's something going on with it. Oh no, he's back. He was sleeping. He was sleeping. So, all right, this could go a couple of directions, but I have 5 questions. Okay, since there's 3 of us, and I thought we could really zone in on them all. So, again, you guys kind of heard the title. And so, folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. If you have questions, please put them in the comment section, and I promise I will get to them. All right. So also, folks, if you're watching this and you want to jump in on another episode, maybe if you have some insights to share that weren't covered in this episode, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to bring you on. All right. So here are the questions. All right. Question number 1. Is there a preference with importance to being both, or as far as your value system on art or functionality? Part 2, doesn't even matter. All right, question 2. How does it dictate your, far as your drills, attribute development, and when you're coordinating your methodology? Question 3. Integrity and honesty. How they fold into this example I will use will be knife. Question 4. Correlation to testing. What is your hierarchy with evaluating students pending what you stress? Question 5. Can you be an artist or a functionalist at the same time? And what do you stress on treating how you feel about it personally? Okay, so question 1. All right. Who wants to take a crack at it first? I mean, everybody's going to get a chance to.
What's it again?
Right.
One is there a preference or importance to having both as far as art or functionality, and what is the value as far as your system?
As we all just did here.
Tim, Dr. Tim, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I guess it's me. All right. Well, okay. So I look at martial arts. There's 3 categories, and there's martial art, there's martial sport, there's martial combat. I like doing all 3. I have clients that look for certain things. Just like our martial techniques, there's fitness, form, and function, and some of the things we do are specifically geared for one of those, and some of the techniques have more versatility. So I like doing the art, but like I tell everybody, my ultimate goal, if martial arts is a spirit, my tip is combatives. So I tell everybody, if my goal is to make sure that when they leave the school, whether they leave it that night or permanently, I have helped increase their chance of survival in real world situations.
All right. Good answer. Rene, what say you?
Oh man. I don't know. I have like really mixed feelings over this whole thing, but it depends on what I'm teaching. Like I do teach the cultural part of some of the arts of the stuff that I do, but for me, because of my background and things I like to do, I don't really, it's not a big emphasis. And there's people who I know that can do a lot better than I can. So if someone really wants to learn like like for example, when I'm teaching Krabi Kabong, if they want to learn the more cultural aspect, I refer them to the group that I was a part of before with Budai Swan. The same with Bikini. If they want to know more about the cultural part of it, I send them over to Philip. But I've kind of allowed myself to digest some information and kind of put it into the fighting part of it. And it doesn't mean that you have to fight if you want to train with me, but my goal is not to further the art on the cultural level. It's more on the fighting level. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if I really answered your question, but that's kind of where I stand with it.
No, I did. So I mean, basically, no, it did on your value system of like, again, you stress that you're more into the functionality. You dictate people where to go, and
I dictate people where to go on a regular basis.
I was waiting for that.
I guess I set myself up for that one.
Rim shot.
Dr. Ty, what say you?
Actually, just for clarity, so I don't get turned around, I got mixed feelings like Rene does, but state the question one last time.
Sure. So is there a preference or importance to having both, when I say both, stressing the art and functionality, or should be predicated on your value system and what you like or what you think is more valuable?
One word answer, which you're not going to like. Yes. So here's the deal. When somebody's doing the arts, so as they're doing martial art, just as a generic term, right, and they're doing it, and you see the combat right off the bat, a good eye, somebody who appreciates the value of combat, sees the art and the beauty in that, and the simplicity, right? That's great. It's self-evident for those that care, and for those that don't, it doesn't matter. On the other side of things, on the art side, if I'm watching somebody doing something that just has no applicability, right? No good power generation, no good focus, those kinds of things, it really, to my mind, diminishes it. These are all predicated on martial art of one sense or another. I'll tell you a short story. This is really short. Don't worry, guys. I used to teach Tai Chi as a martial art. I stopped teaching Tai Chi as a martial art because everyone doing moving yoga, and you will not get the benefits. You will not get the movement that you want if you don't have the eye for the combat in mind. There's no feedback mechanism for you to move correctly. No reason for you to do that if you don't have that as your focus. So I think that you always have to have. Here's the end point. You always have to have, I think, my preference, your foot in the combat roots in some way, shape, or form. Now, how you want to shape that is fine, but it has to be there. Otherwise, you don't have anything to work with. You don't have a touchstone, and you don't have a something that keeps you on track, so you don't go off from la la land.
No, that was interesting. I like that.
It's funny because I found a lot of the people that I train, they'll go, they'll be with me for a while, and the more they train and the more they get into like the fighting part of it, the more they actually start looking for the cultural side of it after. Because it's like, hey, I've gotten to this level now. Where'd it come from? Right. So it's kind of weird. Like, it's kind of like a weird cycle. Like I have people who just want to do the art and go through the cultural part of it, but I just find a lot of the people who actually just want to get into the scrapping part of it eventually will go back and say, well, I want to know more about where this came from. So
I've seen that a lot too. Yeah, I've seen that a lot too. I've seen the other thing. I actually got into martial arts because I thought it was cool, not from an artistic point of view, but from a skill, ability to control your body, that kind of idea point of view. And I just wanted to have that coordination, right? That ability to move. And then later on, I said, hey, wow, I really like that this stuff works. And guess what? That keeps me on track. So to me, that's very, very important. But I got there the other direction.
That's interesting, Rene. Like, they get to a certain pinnacle, and yet then they want to kind of go full circle and touch upon the cultural aspects and all that after they I guess they're satisfied what the level they achieved as far as, I guess, being a fighter or, you know, what have you. That's, I dig it. Datu, so you mentioned those three. Like, how do you, I guess my question to you would be is, how do you balance them out, or how do you go about it as far as a quote unquote methodology, as far as your classroom, regardless, I guess, of age?
So, well, first of all, as far as age goes, I've got 3 different groups based on age. So I have my martial art preschool, for lack of a better term, the 4 to 6 year olds, and I got the 7 to 12s, and then 13 and over. And a lot of people, and some people don't want to teach kids, but I've had kids who are now doing movies who still train with me, who started with me when he's 3 years old, and now he's 30 something, and that's Ryan Monolopoulos, and we got a whole bunch of people. I've got Ryan Sled who's teaching for me. He's 20 now. Started with me was 3. So in each group, there's different things I'm pushing for. So like when I'm doing the 4 to 6 year olds, it's about growth. Every program is about gross motor skills and character development. We're trying to help them with focus, control, work on discipline, work on anger management. This is a lesson that Rene has never learned. Although no, he learned the lesson. Like I had
Actually, I was going to ask Rene.
and then I hit people and I feel better, so it works. You just don't want to be around when I'm managing my anger. That's all. So, but I have a curriculum I teach, and what level I take each piece of material to is dependent on the person in front of me. Some people just want a clinical. They're just looking for. I got people who are just doing their hobby martial artists. They just want to have some. They want to belong to a community. They want to meet friends. They want physical fitness. They don't want to sit on the couch doing nothing. They want to do something productive, being part of a team. And the nice thing is that whether I've taught out of my backyard, in my church, in the gym, or in my full-time school, I've had people with different backgrounds, and who am I to deny anyone's desire to do martial arts? Now, there are certain people that is like, my program's not really geared for you. You'd probably be better off. I have people all the time. Oh, I want to do MMA. Oh, why? Because a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, and because they just use a term that everyone else is throwing around. I want to do Taekwondo. Why? Well, my friend says Taekwondo is good. Okay, well, let's talk about that. And I don't poo-poo Taekwondo. I talk about the benefits of what we do. Mm-hmm. Maybe you've done Taekwondo and you moved into town and you're looking for a school to continue your training. Oh, well, you want to go to Master Chung's, you want to go to Master Ketchum's, Master Carino's. These are the places that I would go if I was looking for Taekwondo. And I'll refer people. And the good thing is that those people have referred people to me later down the road. Because it's just, it's about the community. It's not about, our enemies are bowling and soccer and that damn thing up in Canada, curling. I mean, I don't even get curling, but when you turn it on, I can never turn it off. Sort of like Iron Chef, but different. But I teach the same program to everybody, but how deep I dig is another story. Like doing kata, there's the moves of kata, then there's the bunkai, the applications. And some people want to do high resistance training. Some people are just there for, surface level training, and that's fine. And I think you can do it all. You just need to make sure that, say, all right, I want to know how this is going to feel. Okay, you sure about this? Okay. So, and we work on things like that. Okay. What's this here? Datu Hartman gets swept on his curling.
Yeah, we got folks. So we got Terry from Stockton. We got Rich Parsons. We got Maynard. All right, we got Glenn. All right. Folks, if you're watching, yes, tell us where you're watching from. Anybody else want to further comment on question 1? Add? Okay, we'll go to question 2. All right, let's swing it over to Ty to start. Okay, how does it dictate as far as the development in your students, whether you're trying to develop attributes and all that, how is your class setting go based on, whether you want still attribute development or you're coming more from the art?
Well, okay, so I'm going to come at it from my FMA side of things. When I'm looking to develop attributes in people, I put it in a context fairly early on, right? The applicability. Hey, this is to generate this effect, or in response to this, that might put you in position to recognize that, hey, you can do these things. But it's all in the context of applicability. And as they get better at that, the idea is that they develop these attributes that come together in a consistent manner, right? That then produces the art. The reason I'm saying I'm coming at it from the FMA side of things is because we do it exactly opposite, at least in my style of Kung Fu. We got make you move right, exactly right. And then it becomes more and more applicable as you start ingraining that. That's the long road, and it's very, very difficult. But they ideally, if you're doing them both right, I think they try to go to the same place. I think on the FMA side of things, that approach is pretty handy, and the practicality appeals to a sort of a seminar setting, but also informal setting, or also if you don't have a lot of time. So I teach weekly, which is not a lot of time. But keeping that applicability and that context in mind really helps focus their development as they work on things on their own, which they better do. So that's what I try to do. I always contextualize as I work on the attribute development. And I might even say that, hey, right now you might not get how to apply that right yet, but there's a context that I plant the seed with so that we can work that in later. Because I don't mind, hey, if it's not clicking for you, fine, still move this anyway, realize that there's a reason for that. And I tried to explain it didn't work. Okay, we'll try it next time in a different way, right? You eventually make these links and context, contextual weaving together as you can. That's a quick answer for you.
No. So as far as the frequency of you teaching, what is it currently? Once a week?
Once a week for a couple hours.
Okay. And it's pretty much minor knees?
That is all the process or niche type stuff. Yeah, focusing almost completely on modern, except for not quite.
Okay. Same question, Rene.
I don't know. I kind of have a different approach to teaching. It's a mixture of high pressure and sarcasm. Well, I'm about to get attacked by somebody. What are you doing?
The creaky door.
What are you doing? Did you get in trouble? Yeah, I'll come talk to you in a second, okay? Okay, sorry, buddy. I'll come talk to you in a second. So with me, I teach things and I say this is what we're going to work on, and I don't want to say I pick on everybody, but I do pick on everybody, and I'll tell everybody in the room this is what this guy needs to work on. This is what this guy needs to work on, and I just flat out tell them like, there's two ways of learning in my class, and one is listening to my child cry in the corner because he got in trouble. Anyways, so it's let me deal with this. Sorry, I'll be right back.
No worries. All right, Dr. Tim, you want to pick up?
I was distracted.
Okay. Renee had to go deal. Renee had to go deal with a child that apparently is in trouble.
Yes. So one more time with the question.
Yeah. So the question basically is, question 2. How does it dictate your methodology, for instance, drills or attribute development when you're teaching? So in other words, as far as the art, is he back? No, I can't tell.
He's back.
He is back?
Hello.
Oh, you are back. Okay. All right. Finish up. Okay. Sorry, Doctor.
I'm going to try and remember what we were talking about. Mainly with my guys and the people that I train, it's really simple. Like, I don't really hide what I do, and I always tell people, if you're looking for a place where we can all hold hands and hug and stuff, I'm the wrong venue for you. I really like putting
I
people
can't
under
believe
pressure
that.
because that's the way I learned, right? And I literally tell people when we're training or sparring or anything else, this is what this person needs to work on, and that's what I tell them. Like literally, I'll scream out to the other person, how, what they should do to them because they need to work on it. So that's kind of how I like to push people forward and to build those attributes. For me, the way I've learned and the way I like to teach is to put people under pressure, because I find when you put people under constant pressure, they have two choices. You either get better or you give up. And most people don't want to give up. And if they do want to give up, then they realize what I'm teaching is not for them. And I'm not saying what I teach is the right thing. I just have my brand of what I like to do. And what I like to do is to prepare people for the things that I do, like gatherings and such. So that's kind of how I like to teach or get people forward. Like, I'm not saying I'm horrible to them, but I definitely don't sugarcoat it. And again, because martial arts is a passion and not a vocation for me, I allow myself that freedom of saying, hey, man, you need to work on this because you suck. And just like it was done for me, when I was boxing, it wasn't like, well, maybe if you keep working on your jab, one day you'll get better at it. It's like, hey, man, is the right side of your face hurting a lot? Well, maybe you should learn how to use your footwork, or maybe hit them first, right? And I've kind of taken that to heart with the way I like to train and teach. And again, it's not for everybody. To answer, I think I heard you say, did I ever teach kids? I did.
I was joking.
No, but the funny thing is, like, I remember walking to a class where there was like 6 kids, and the teacher who was teaching was like, man, you're gonna have your hands full. And they came back 5 minutes later, they're all sitting there staring at me, and I'm talking to them, and they were doing what I was telling them to do, because I literally told them, I'm like, I'm not here to waste my time with you. And if you want to go and play, then go play. I just go home. It's easier for me to do that. And I found that when I actually took away, when I said, I'm not here for you, I'm here for me, that they actually chose to listen. It's the same thing, when you're at a seminar sometimes and you're teaching something, and all of a sudden some guy will start teaching something else in the corner because he wants to teach a seminar within a seminar. I actually will stop the seminar and ask the guy to teach that part. And then I'll turn to everybody. He's like, hey, is this what I was teaching? It's like, no, okay. Like, you have 2 choices. You can go train over there with that guy and some pretty cool stuff, or we can continue the material that we're working on. Because I actually don't care. Like, I'm here to do what we got to do.
That's right.
So, I'm not very subtle that way, but it seems to work. So again, not the best way, but it works for me. And I find the people that I train, and they want to stick around, is because they're actually getting it, and those are the people that move forward, right? Because again, when it comes to martial arts, like Tim was saying, there's some people who are just there because they want to, whatever, they like the idea of being in martial arts or whatever, which is cool with me. I'm cool with all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I have a job, and my job is to make sure that the people that I train are going to survive what I go through.
Yeah. No, which is why I wanted you to have you on, because I knew you were going to come from a different perspective, that you're getting people prepared and ready if they're going to go to a gathering, where they, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so I could definitely appreciate what you're saying. And I would have loved to seen that kids class with you.
Jump in on the pressure thing. I love pressure on things at the right time, and depending on where you want to do it in your program, it's all up to you and your students. But what I find is I fondly remember times when my teachers would put me in pressure. I've learned the most during those times, whether it was timing pressure, damage pressure, whatever it happens to be. We won't say damage, pain pressure, right? Not damage.
Distraction.
and I do the same thing. It feels, some people might think it's a little bullying, but if it's not pressure, what impetus do you have to adapt to get better? If there's no reason to change, then there's no reason to change.
No,
That's what pressure helps accomplish. Sorry.
no. I'm glad you filled it in. I like that. Like, I mean,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
Hollywood's over, right? Like when you actually come to a class where I don't know, like a lot of the gist classes I've been to or the boxing classes that I've been to, that's the reality when someone's punching you in the face. Yeah. There's no there's no Hollywood here. Like you're not gonna when someone gives you a stone uppercut, you're not gonna sit there and go, and fight back as like in some of the movies. Like if you've never had a really good uppercut before,
Mhm.
it's gonna change the way you look at things.
Mhm. Nice. Like that aspect of the pressure. Yeah. Datu, same question.
Well, a lot of things I'm processing in my head at the same time here.
That's okay.
Tell by the smoke.
Yeah, you hear that? You hear that? I mean, and the thing here is like when we talk about this, I want to make sure everyone understands something. Like we're going to be saying things differently from a different point of view. That's
okay. Yeah.
So I'm a professional martial artist. So, are there people I would question whether or not I would bring them in normally if I didn't have to pay the bills? There's definitely people I would send elsewhere, but even then, I want to be there for the community. I'm looking at more of a holistic thing. It's a bigger thing. If when I had another job, when I had a 9-to-5 job, and I did martial arts, I was developing myself at the time, and people were welcome to be part of that journey.
Okay.
Or they could have gone elsewhere. I didn't have a lot of overhead on my training area, so my quote unquote teaching was just as much about me training too. So, but I'm in a different place in my career now, and I understand. Like there's we want people to. Like Rene was talking about, like, hey, a lot of times, people aren't going to that area like the boxing gym. And you get hit for real. Okay, he's trying to gear people up to understand that kind of level of contact, and I'm all for that. But sometimes people aren't ready at the beginning, and just because they're not ready at the beginning doesn't mean they can't be ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a kid who literally grew a foot in a year, had all these motor skill issues, had confidence issues. I would take a step in his general direction, and he'd be like jumping. I'm like, and it was the old school stuff. It was in the 90s, like 80s. I'm like, dude, you keep moving, I'm going to give you a reason. It's all the shit your father would, all of us who had like baby boomer fathers or the silent generation fathers. Stop your crying or I'll give you a reason to cry. It was one of those knee-jerk comments. I went from being the biggest. He went from being the biggest wuss in the school to winning a full contact tournament. So, and I had a different mindset because it wasn't about me. It was about me, but it was different. So I understood to become better, I needed to teach more people and take all of them, whether they were good or not. Hey, Eric, how you doing? From Portland. So. So when people are listening, you got to understand the context that we're all coming from because it's a different situation. Rene has another career. This is not how he puts food on the table for his family.
I'm a hand model.
What was that?
I said I'm a hand model.
There we go. I didn't want to get that out. Maybe I'll give it to Covenant. He's gonna have a little glass thing on his hand to keep from going, so it doesn't go bad. From Zoolander. We definitely know he's not a foot model, but
not anymore.
Not anymore. No, those days are gone. You can see him on his OnlyFans page as well. So, but but when people are listening in, I mean, just realize that we all have we're coming from a different position. We have a very interesting spectrum of people who are maybe on a spectrum.
Well, that's why I wanted you. That's why I decided to bring the three of you because I just knew you guys were all, and I thought that would make it more just captivating and interesting by hearing the three because I knew Rene was going to be completely different from you guys.
We are all on the spectrum.
And speaking of that, I have had and through the years and quite a bit currently people who are on the spectrum or ADHD or whatever, what fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I remember those days when I talked
And
to you.
I have them in my club and I'm giving them an outlet and I'm helping them.
Absolutely.
So what is this? We can all have multiple goals inside of what we're doing. Listen, I want my guys to be good. I want them to bang, but I also want to help people and be a good activity for people, a safe haven that any of the people that walk through our door, they know that no one's going to judge them in there.
No, that's valuable. No, that's profound. Yeah, I mean, like you
I'm
said,
the same
whole thing
way.
with helping people.
Like I'm the same way. I have a zero bullshit policy. I don't care where you're from. I don't care any of that crap. I don't care what you think you are, who you are, whatever. When you're in there, we're all the same. And that's the end of it. And if you have a problem with that, you can just walk out the same way you walked in. Like I used to have a sign over my school when I had it at my house, you can come with an open mind or leave with a split head. It's up to you. It really is. Like I don't really care. We're here for one purpose only. It's iron sharpens iron, right? That's the way I kind of look at it. And I really don't care. Like I've had students from all walks of life, rich, poor, male, female, and everything across the rainbow. I honestly don't care. If you're there to train, I will welcome you. If you're here to cause shit, just get the fuck out. And just kind of the way I look at things.
Yeah. No. I like it. This is why you're here. Ty, anything you want to chip in?
I think I chipped in enough on this one.
Okay. All right. It's interesting though, the whole kid dynamic, Datu, because in other words, like I'm looking at it from a couple different lenses.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you're doing the community service, and if you get kids that are on the spectrum, I mean, you're helping these kids. You're giving them an opportunity that perhaps they wouldn't have anywhere else, as far as like team sports, for instance, and like that, and also doing something. Obviously, the parents too, come into play there.
Well, listen, for anyone who's out there teaching that is listening to this, and you have objections of other activities and stuff of that nature, just remember there's one thing about us that's different than most of the other sports. You don't ride the pine in martial arts. You might have to wait for your turn because there's only so many people on the floor at a given moment. So let's say you go to, I just hosted a tournament at my school this weekend. So you had to wait for your turn, but you didn't have to wait for the coach to put you in. Everybody was in, So as a martial artist, we're never riding the pine. Now, you might be an alternate on a fight team inside of it, but you can still go to the tournament as a whole if sports is part of the thing. But, I remember on the swim team, we had a strong team. I was in the upper percentile, but I wasn't the top percentile, which means I didn't get put in until the last meet of the season. I was every practice, everything, but you know what? I just didn't get that activity, and our team wasn't that strong. I mean, we weren't going to win sectionals or anything like that. But the thing here is, it's not a house league. They're trying to win. So what does the coach do? Put the best players in. It's like, so, and I get it. But, okay, the Bills are playing tonight. Second string, third string players might not go out there. They're still getting paid. They're still part of it. And they're part of the equation. They're ready to go.
Right.
But they don't care because, they make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Everybody gets a ring, whether they play
and a check.
So, and they're all getting paid. Now,
Right.
in martial arts, that's not happened the same way. And the good thing is, because what percentage of people actually make it to professional sports? All the ones that are not doing the professional sports, they run the risk of sitting on the pine, sitting on the bench for God knows how long, may never even play. And that is not the case in our.
No, right. That's a good point. How do we, just we're going to go a little off topic here, and I didn't have this as a question, but I think it's an interesting dynamic you brought up for us as kids. In that, so with some of the kids you have on the spectrum, like I'm just remembering when I had my school, I sold it in 2012, so it's been some time now. But I remember I had a few kids that were, regardless of their diagnosis and and where they were on the spectrum. But I remember, like, obviously you went about their, what they were going to get, and the benefits you want them to receive were far different than a kid who maybe was on, for example, on the demo team. Like, how do you handle that?
Well, it is a pain when you have to make exceptions, but a lot of times the parents, they handle a lot of the stuff for us. But I'll tell you a success story that ended up being a failure. I had a kid who was on the spectrum. Nobody would look at this kid. And I've always told all the parents that come through, we get calls all the time. Do you teach kids on the spectrum, blah, blah, blah. I go, listen, it is not my profession. I don't have professional training in dealing with kids of these needs. I don't offer those services. That being said, I find out that a lot of times people, as well as children, are overdiagnosed out there. When we were young, we were underdiagnosed and undermedicated. Now we're overdiagnosed and overmedicated. So I tell everyone, listen, bring your child in. We'll do an evaluation and we'll see where that. There's only been a small handful of kids that I haven't been able to take. The ones that run out. So we're in a plaza. I've had one kid running out in the parking lot. I'm like, ma'am, I can't do anything. You can't control your own kid. How am I supposed to control your kid?
Well, if you go around a parking lot, that's just, liability.
It's not safe for that child. Kid headbutting the ground loud enough that I could hear him from across the room.
Oh, that's sad, man.
A lot of issues here and there. So, but my success and failure in one was I had this kid. He just within the last couple of years, Dimitri, wouldn't talk, wouldn't do anything. I'm like, okay. I go, Mom. And Janice said, let's bring him on a Saturday class. Okay, it's like a family class. It's low key, low speed. Let's see what happens. And I was shocked on how well he did. I go, let's do Saturdays. Okay. Then we bumped him up to our little Arnisadors, which are our 4 to 6 year olds. So he was fine with that. He was doing good. He was even saying hello to me, which, huge difference, huge.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be in the older kids class, which he couldn't. And I told Mom, here's the deal. And she couldn't be on the floor because she had physical problems. I go, he needs someone with him at all times. The class that he's going to go into, I can't have him there because I can't take away from the other kids. I can't be all about your son. If you want to do this, private lessons, which they couldn't afford doing that. So I sat there and said, listen, I don't care. You get somebody, we'll put them in a uniform. We won't charge them. They'll go on the floor with your son. She couldn't find anybody.
How sad.
I went above and beyond.
Yeah.
Because I saw the value there. But then again, I'm looking at we just did a trunk or treat spectacular that had like 400 or 500 people roll through our parking lot to benefit the community. My approach to life is a lot different than a lot of other people out there. Yeah. And I know some kids, like in our industry, the FMA industry, and everyone comes up with bullshit excuses why they don't teach children. Okay. It really what it boils down to, they don't know how, they're intimidated. But at the end of the day, you're not going to have a thriving school if you don't teach the children. I don't know of, there might be successful and maybe even thriving adult schools out there, but I don't know many that don't do it without teaching children.
I think it's few and far between.
Animal Academy has a kids class.
Yeah, I think it's few and far between, without a kids program that are really successful.
And listen, if Inasano can't do it without teaching kids,
Well, what does that tell you? Yeah.
I'm not trying to bust anyone's chops, but I mean, but a lot of people talk about like this. If I had it before I went full time,
Mm.
I love teaching. Actually, I love teaching kids because I know if I could teach women and children, that would be a better indicator for me because neither one could depend on strength. Because generally speaking, children and women are usually smaller than men. We were talking about that today in sparring class. How my girls fought in an all girls division, and it's not because they can't match the boys. It's that the boys are in a different weight class to them and a height. They go, how'd it feel fighting someone your own size? It was awesome. So do you like training with the guys? Yeah, because the guys hit us harder than the girls can ever do it because the girls in their same age group are 50 to 100 pounds lighter. So it's not about male and female. It's about weight classes. And obviously that does tie back into male and female, but it's not because they're a girl. It's because they're a girl. But, it's just all the different.
I don't know. I got to be honest. When I had my school, some of the most rewarding moments were working with kids like that. And I'm extremely, patient, and it was rewarding. And I tell you, some of the best feedback were from parents of kids that were on the spectrum. And it takes a special person. It's not for everybody.
No, it's not. It's hard.
Yeah, and also you're going to tailor. In other words, they're not going to get. You can't have the expectations with the others getting in the group class. You're definitely going to be modifying things. You're going to be modifying their goals and what they're trying to achieve.
Let's talk about that before we. My last piece of this. When you talk about modifying thing, there was an old school thing that everyone thought that everyone needs to be able to kick ass and all this other stuff. I would hang around the Kempo guys and they'd always talk about it. Well, you still need to throw down. So I'm going to talk about one of my guys, Dan McCartan, is a disabled vet. He's beat up because he sacrificed, and he was a volunteer firefighter. So between the volunteer firefighting and the military, he's so beat up he cannot perform. His body doesn't let him perform the way he wants to. How do I and we have to modify I modify my expectations based on the person in front of me. In general, I tell everybody, none of you, unless we're in sport, you're never going to be judged by the person standing in front of you because we're all different people. And I'm not saying we rubber stamp things, but we have to set realistic expectations. And
Absolutely.
Here's a guy who sacrificed the quality of his life to protect people like myself.
Correct.
So who the hell am I to tell him he can't become a black belt because he can't do 50 push-ups or do this, do that, or the other thing? If it wasn't for him, you might be run by another country. I mean, some crazy demonic country like Canada might try to take over. Of course, we'll just send the Girl Scouts over and we'll just deal with them because,
Well, Rich Parsons saying Dan's a good guy. So.
Yes, he is. But
sorry, I wasn't listening. What did Tim say?
I said you're a dick. Oh, wait, Rene?
I zoned out.
Rene.
It's going on there for a while.
Rene. Remy.
Where's your shot glass?
Where's your shot glass?
It's a work night, guys. Come on.
All right. Ty, you got anything to chip in before I go to question 3?
No, I just, let's move on.
No, if you got something, go ahead. Seriously.
No, I think we got off on the subject of kids and how this ties into both the subject at hand, which is, art versus combat and sport somewhere in there. I think goes together with what Tim was saying with the tailoring, right? There's probably, you have to be a little bit more focused on the needs of the individual at the time, right? Because everybody's different in general. The kids have a wide range of what they need out of what the training is going to be. So with good communication, you can set that up just fine, but you're going to have to put that effort in to help guide them through. And sometimes it's going to be maybe, give them a chance to get the art piece so they can get their feet on it. Or maybe you start with the application and that gives the better hook for them so that they can get all the benefits that they want out of the thing. So you've got to be pretty careful. And I'll caveat that, which is I've not taught a whole lot of kids because of the nature of the classes I had. The closest I had with kids was college kids, plus teaching at my instructor's or my teacher's school as an assistant. But I enjoy teaching kids. but I don't teach kids, and probably for some of the same BS reasons that Tim was saying. And
Well,
partly,
you teach in a park. It's not like you're actively trying to recruit people. I mean, and you have had kids come to you.
my stipulation is that they have to be able to handle the one class. I have the one class, and there's only so much of me to go around. So they have to be able to function in a class where I'm also making sure adults are making the progress that they want to make and I want them to make. So as long as that stipulation is understood, and if that means, hey, they're going to be there for first half hour and then they're going to go play while their parents keep on training, then I will divide my time accordingly. But my primary purpose is for the nature of the class as it was set up in the first place. So I put that out there and we go from there. Kind of blunt about it. But at the same time, there's a lot of good rewarding points I have in there. So anyway, there's a little bit of Thai rambling since you dragged that out of me.
No. I mean, regardless, like you said, if you have kids in there or special needs kids, you're going to have different systems in place, and hopefully more resources.
Like it just comes down to being honest, right? Like it doesn't matter how you modify your system or what you want to do, but just being honest with the person that you're teaching.
Which is our next thing. Yeah.
That's the big thing for me. Is just like I've had people with disabilities who train with me, but I flat out tell them, it's like, I'm not going to take it easy on you. As horrible as it sounds, like, it's just, I'm not here to lie to you. Because if I make you feel that, and for me, coming from a self-defense kind of scenario or a fighting scenario, if I lie to you, all I'm doing is setting you up to get hurt or worse. So, I've had people in my classes that have like prosthetic arms or prosthetic legs. I flat out tell them, like, you got to work on A, B, and C if you're going to go up against people that I train, because they're going for you. If they see you having a weakness or what they may perceive as a weakness, or an opportunity to take advantage of you, they'll do it because I've taught them that. So you have to be honest with the person that you're teaching, regardless of how old they are, their gender, or anything else. Like, as Tim was talking about, the women that I train, they fight with the rest of the monsters. Because I always say the chances of you being attacked by other men are much greater than being attacked by a woman.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to lie to you. Like, if you're going to join this group, it's going to suck. And I don't want you to be comfortable. And I'm going to just let you know how it is. It's nothing personal. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, if you don't do that, I think you're doing them a disservice. So
you're doing it, absolutely. You're right, which is the next thing.
We see that every day. Like, we see that we could hop on YouTube right now and within 5 minutes find a video where somebody's lying to the person that they're teaching.
Yeah.
And under the guise of, I'm teaching you self-defense and martial arts, which is absolute horseshit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what, I keep saying jokingly that I've become the Master Ken of martial arts, in the FMA community or in the Kabikabam community, because I watch some of this stuff and go, this is insanity. It's like you have a 6-year-old black belt that's manhandling a 200-pound man, saying, oh, look how amazing this kid is. That kind of stuff makes me insane.
Yeah, I know. Which leads to our next thing: integrity, honesty, and how that kind of folds in examples. And one example, when I look a lot as far as integrity, self-honesty to clientele, students, is example I use is like, again, knife. Whenever you're teaching, the aspect of integrity to oneself, and as Rene touched upon, being honest, like, for instance, like, hey, if you're teaching the art, for instance, hey, I'm not sure this stuff works. I'm just going to give you what was given to me, but I'm giving you this disclaimer. I think that's fine because they're being honest, integrity self. However, if they're teaching stuff like that and the self-defense aspect, which Rene alluded to, and you haven't tested it, or for a fact it doesn't work, but you're pushing it for the dollar, to me, ethically, obviously zero integrity, and of course you're not being honest to your students. So with that being said, since you touched on it, Rene, you want to Want to finish off on that? So integrity and
Yeah,
honesty.
I think the knife is a perfect example. You know, how many times do I watch a video somewhere of someone saying, "Oh, if you sacrifice your arm to the blade, you might be able to get to the person," or stuff like that, right? It's like I've been stabbed, and on a couple of occasions with a blade. Not to mention other things, and it doesn't work the way the movies are. It doesn't work the way, you know. It's just some of the regurgitated bullshit that people teach out there, and it doesn't, you know. It doesn't make me very popular when I say this stuff, but a lot of the stuff out there is nonsense. You know, like the reason I was attracted to some of the Piper stuff originally was because of it wasn't knife fighting. It was just like these guys are just showing people how
Knife
to take someone out.
ambushing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just ambush. And if you look at, I don't know how many the videos of dueling out there are few and far between from actual knife attacks, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? There's a video recently floating around of the two women in the fast food joint. They're
Where's that?
pushing each other around. I don't know if you guys seen that one. And the woman, like one woman pushes the other one, and she grabs her gut because the other one had pulled a knife and stabbed her twice and walked away. And
Was
it's
that
like,
a fast food place or something?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah.
And then like that's reality to me. That's real, right? So, have I like you know when I was in South America, I saw a few knife duels or machete duels, if you want to call them that. But the rest of it was ambush, you know, like
Yeah.
so. I think just being realistic with what you teach and being honest about it, and just you know even saying, hey, I've never seen this or I've never done this, but I heard A, B, and C. You know, when Larry Hartzell was in town, he would tell the stories of the knife scenarios, as things that he's been through. I'd listen to him because that guy had seen and been through it, right?
Mm.
Excuse me, but sometimes I listen to people like you know instructors who are just regurgitating stuff that would never happen. So I don't know. For me, it's a touchy subject because I'll go on a rant, but you just got to be honest with yourself because at the end of the day, like we're responsible for it, right?
That's what I mean.
Like
There's
if someone
integrity.
pulls
There's
out a
like
knife and you
ethics.
pull out a spoon and you'll survive,
Yeah.
like that's on me.
No, I know. That's what I mean. Integrity to yourself. Like you're giving, you know, are you giving stuff that, you know, God forbid, potentially one day could, you know, they're going to encounter something and you didn't test the stuff out, for example, yet you're selling it and pitching it. And, you know, yeah, I mean, how do these folks sleep at night? I don't know.
We did. Like I think I mentioned this before, maybe episode 355. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I was invited to teach at a knife seminar. It was like 4 different people teaching knife work, and everybody's teaching these really cool stabs and everything else. And I was just going like literally deploying your blade, like in the middle of a conversation and reacting to that. And then I said, "Who carries a folder?" And everybody put up their hand. I'm like, "You're using a fixed blade right now. So imagine if you had to use a folder, right? The light bulbs are turning on. It's like
Point. No, it's an excellent point. I mean,
it,
yeah. No, and your point on the Piper stuff, like exactly. I mean, like you know, the whole thing of the ambush. Yeah, it's yeah.
well, I was in shock to like you know when Thomas Holtman came down here for the seminar, and I had no idea what the hell Piper was. Just like I have very little exposure to Medusa, which is something I'm interested in. But I didn't realize that it was all about killing. It wasn't like it wasn't like if a man pulls out a knife, then you pull out your knife. It's like no,
No.
if you're in this position, this is where you draw, this is where you deploy, and this is how you hide, and this is how you walk away. And when I look at that kind of material compared to the stuff that I see in reality and the videos that I've seen of weapons assaults,
Yeah.
like that's pretty fucking real.
No, and the reason being is it's so relevant because it's in the prison systems, which is happening every day, and it's so tactic based. It didn't get over codified. You know what I mean? And so yeah, much to your point. I mean, it's scary stuff. Yeah, I mean, well, you guys know I take both, and yeah, it's that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's kind of
No, you did. No, you absolutely did. Ty, same question.
I can't remember the question was. I was going to tag onto that though. That the one of the things that strikes me about what little I know about Piper is that it is that basis. But another way to say that is that it's not, well, you said it a little bit, Renee. It's not a fight, right? It's not a duel in the sense that it's consensual, right? It is, and in my mind, hey, what if you're in a fair fight? You're not in a combat situation like I think of
Right.
like with a struggle, right? If you're in a fight that's supposed to be somehow consensual, you're now in a match. Sorry,
Yep.
I don't care how rough it is. It's just a match.
Yeah, you're not. You're trying to. I mean, you're behind a curve. There was a distraction. Then the ambush came,
That's
and yeah,
Oh,
and it's coming in places.
I definitely I go back to my bouncing days, right? Like how many times have I walked back to where my motorcycle, my car was, and I have people waiting for you on the way there, right? That's not a match. That's either I'm going to talk my way out of it, or we're fighting, right? And there's not much of a discussion, once it starts, it starts. It kind of reminds me of one of my first instructors in Canada. He was like a street punk, real like badass kind of individual that has this big rep. And when I first met him, he's like, I'm not going to train to get into fights. I'm going to train to get into beatings, because that's what I want to give. I don't want to fight you. I want to beat the shit out of you. That's what he said to me.
nice.
And I was like, that makes sense.
Oh, by the way, that was enlightening.
Yeah, well, it made. I mean, when I think about self-defense, that makes sense to me, right? It's like I'm not going to square off to somebody who's bigger, Like it just if I can do my job and get the hell out,
Yeah.
I've defended myself. I'm good to go.
Yeah. No.
This is where I think it comes back to the question, which I think the question was about integrity, honesty, right? Integrity.
Yeah, honesty, integrity, and how does it fold into your methodology as far as your dialogue with students?
I think this is core to it. The fun conversation we just had, right? You need to be upfront with what your purpose is, your expectations are, and they need to be upfront with theirs, and also be. So Tim says this a lot. You can't, and I agree, and I've heard it lots of different places, but I'm going to quote the most recent, which is if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't really be honest. So if you can be honest about what you're coming up with, what you're teaching, what you're passing on, and what you know about it, then that gives the freedom for them to digest it in a more open, right, realistic way, or take it at face value and say, okay, got it. I'll keep that in mind. It seems pretty cool, but there's no guarantees, which is probably one of the most honest things you can say when you're doing this stuff, right? There are no guarantees.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. When people sometimes ask me questions like, I don't know, which makes you have to go back to your lab and figure out how you can figure that out, right?
That's why it's great being an instructor who cares, because you will do that.
And the same topic, I know we're talking about martial arts and everything else, but when it comes to like firearms and whatnot, how many times you see like a martial arts instructor who's never fired a gun in their life, and all of a sudden they're talking about gun disarms and this, that, and the other, but they have no mechanical idea of how the firearm works, the sound it makes, it just, that stuff drives me insane. Like, are you?
No, that's why I don't teach gun disarms, because I've never shot a gun. So who the hell am I to be teaching that?
This is where we invoke the term cosplay, right? If they're doing that, it's cosplay at that point.
Well, and that's
Wait
what
a
I was
second.
going to say.
You live in Connecticut and you've never shot a gun?
No, everybody's telling me to get my license. Everybody's telling me to do it, but that's one area I don't teach anything from, because who the hell am I to, to be doing, I mean, I refer people, hey, I can't help you, but so-and-so would be the guy to go see in this area,
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me, I think I touched on that story before when I was because I go to the range at least 3 days a week.
Was this episode 355 or was this?
No, I think this could have been 4 something. I don't remember. They're all kind of like, they go like this now. It's like dealing with some of the competition shooters compared to someone who's been in combat. And so I was at a range and I was doing pie plates, where basically you set up a pie plate, you pull out your pistol, you empty a mag into the pie plate, and just you want to get a center of mass. And this guy came up to me and he started telling me how what I was doing was wrong, and he had the $4,000 gun with the $6,000 belt, and he's telling me how. And I just at one point I was like, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, "I'm a computer programmer." I'm like, "You should stick to that." And it's like it was my polite way of saying, "Why don't you fuck off?" Right? Like the guy who was was teaching me this drill is a combat vet. You know, someone who's been deployed many, many times, and this is how he trains to get on target. And I was like, if I'm going to listen to anybody, you know, it's not the guy who's got, you know, perfect scenario on a timer and you know, looks cool with a belt. I'm going to listen to somebody who's been in the trenches. That's kind
Yeah, not somebody who's programming Microsoft or something.
Sorry, I'll stop now.
No,
Go ahead, Tim.
Datu.
Well, they open the door for me. Usually, I'm the one that's thought we've done shows on this. As much as Rene ticks people off, I think a lot of guys in the FMA community get a little ticked off of me because I talk about it a lot. Most of us out there, and I'm not actually, and I do it too, but I'm honest about what I'm doing and what I'm doing. You know, like if you cosplay and tell yourself it's tactical, it's another story. I mean, that's the problem. Too many people out there are generally cosplaying out there. We've talked about this time again. Listen, we can go with you look at all the guys that do FMA. We'll use the FMA as the thing. Well, even like the HEMA guys, the historical European martial art guys. You're dueling another trained fighter. So if you're fencing, HEMA, you know, 2-stick fighters, it is unrealistic. Now, all the training that you do can build up skill sets that can apply to material for better tactics. But the thing here is, when I hear all these FMA guys talking about all the stuff they're doing, and I see all the FMA drills, and I ask, well, what are you doing for your day-to-day stuff? What do you mean? Well, what are you doing for open hand combatives? Okay, because a third of all attacks are armed. And most likely, you will not be prepared to deploy or have anything to deploy when these things are happening. Now, I know some, I'm always armed, I'm always this, I'm always that. You're the minority of the minority. We're talking about the norm, and everyone talks about the exception. Ty and I, okay, so Rene talked about fights that he saw in South America, and he talked about a Ebola fight. Ty and I saw, wait for it, we were in the middle of a street fight in the middle of Philippines, right by Luneta Park, which is Mecca for Filipino martial arts. And no one was doing any of this kung fu fighting. They were picking up bricks and stones and anything. And there was no one in that fray of like 30 people or so. It was a huge, I mean, the street shut down. Okay. People were on scooters coming the wrong way down to join the fray. Nobody was doing any martial arts. There was Filipinos who were fighting, but they weren't FMA fighters. You know, like Manny Pacquiao. He's a Filipino who boxes. He's not an FMA guy. Sorry, guys. So when we saw this shit for real, and that's in the Philippines, they don't have people that are doing this stuff. You know, and the martial artists, I mean, we're the first to jump in. No, we're the first to take notes. All right, that's a terrible heat.
All right, there was a brick thrown. He kind of threw it.
And afterwards, I go up. Oh man, you got messed up. Here's my card.
You're biting him wrong.
No, I got good rates. I'll hook you right up, brother. But I mean, the thing here is, I mean, okay, listen, we've all seen it. When everyone did the covert draw with the knife in the belt loop, and he pulls everyone did the pull the shirt, pull the knife out, and stab. You know who didn't bother to try that at least once? This guy. Okay, I'm sorry. And when Doug Marqueta had made karambits all flashy and everyone got on the thing, I had karambits 20 years before that time. You know, all this shit that's popular, been there, done that, and some of the stuff is just stupid. And when I like that Paulo did pulled out the Zanzibar from his pants and the chestnuts fell out, because he started making fun of himself because he was one of the guys that were doing all the covert draws and all this other stuff too. I'm like, dude, you know, I'm glad he had a moment of clarity. But I mean, the thing here is, I look at this stuff and it's like, most of the people I see doing Filipino martial arts are cosplaying, and they're selling their drills. Selling. Listen to me, everyone. Drills build skills. They're not combative. Now you take a bunch of combative moves, blend them together without finishing the job, leaving counters to be done in there so we can work on a skill development. But anytime you do something that is a drill based, remember, it's no longer real. And I have no problem with people teaching that and promoting that, as long as they're telling people what they're doing, and why they're doing it.
Right. Honesty, integrity. Right. Exactly.
So, like kata, we can sit there and do kata and then do breakdown of the movement and say, hey, all right, down block a kick. Well, no, not really, but you can visualize that. Let's start with that, and later I'll give you better applications. And we can go through all those stuff. So I mean, I do forms, so I do applications, and I remember the ones that I was taught, and that's not what I teach people. But the thing here, it took me a while to figure out. I trusted my teachers, and everything that we talk about traditional was modern at one time. Now the applications may no longer be relevant based on technology. When you look at a lot of the lunge punches you see in Japanese martial arts or those lunge stabs, because people were on the battlefield going through armor. Then someone invented something. It was gunpowder, bullets, and then of course armor went away. But now technology's back, and now you've got body armor with ceramic plates and all this other stuff. So you might see some of this older material coming back into play. But the problem here is making things up, or in some cases making things up, telling people that this is going to work. And like I said, I do sombrado all the time. I do hubud all the time. Okay, that's a nice drill. So what are you doing for application? I'll defend with hubud. No, you won't. You might use aspects of hubud. We do hubud as well as a enrichment program, but it's not in modern Renice. But I see the value of it, and it also becomes a dialogue using the Blintwalk. I came up with the original system that Anshan taught. The methodology is not what Anshan taught. It's not what he wanted, but he didn't discourage his students from training it. And I see people going through the groupings. I like using the groupings, but if you never do the breakdown and just try to do the grouping fast, you become a master of missed opportunities. Now, Mun and Bobby, we're hanging down there. Some of the best Blintwalk lessons I've gotten was from Bobby Tablata, because he knows what he's doing there. But a lot of people who do groupings are just too focused on doing the grouping and going fast and looking good, or trying to look good, and not worrying about the combat application or the fact the relevance.
No, do they care?
Or the relevance to real street combat. But then again, I think I'm not. If Blintwalk, okay, so I'm picking on Blintwalk, but I've done it for 23 years. So realize when I say this, okay, the thing here is this. There's a lot of things they don't have to be for combat, or it. I look at my group, my Blintwalk in general, to work. Untiming or ungrouping is going to be more precision than timing and strategy. When I'm using the groupings, it's about explosiveness, speed, and about teaching people a whole bunch of things. But I do the two. I will take the grouping and break it down. But I also tell people, if you want to learn how to to defend yourself in real life situations, you might as well be doing fencing. There's better arts to train that, because that is their focus. And the problem with Filipino martial arts, they talk about how combat effective we are, but no one ever shows the most likely combatives.
Well, look at knife, for instance. Look at NPN against knife. If you look at the majority of FMA systems, they're teaching you defense against attacks that are not prominent out there in the streets or the prison systems. They're not. So they're actually trained to practice against stuff that they're not going to see. You know what I mean? So, hence why, I looked at these prison systems, not because, I embrace.
Okay, we can flip it around. How often are you going to come up with, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I don't really come up against those people on a day-to-day basis.
I'm not saying I know, but I'm saying the likelihood if you're going to be stabbed is going to be something.
If it's a stabbing, yes. Okay.
Well, that's what I mean. The context. I'm talking about knife attacks, right?
We're
But it doesn't
specifically
have to be
using.
knife attacks, so it can be anything. Like
Give me a
the problem I
screwdriver.
have, the
A
problem I have
screwdriver,
with martial arts.
Correct.
Like the problem I have with martial arts in general is that it's like people want to be fancy and they want to be cool and everything else. Like growing up, more of my friends got stabbed by screwdrivers than they did by knives, and half the time people would put or if they're again razor blades between the fingers and stuff like that. Like, is that martial arts or is that just self-preservation, right? Like it's or just dirty fighting, and that's what it really comes down to. I find that people rather do something that looks really cool instead of just something that really works really well.
That's effective or simplistic.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, a cup of hot coffee sometimes might stop a fight real quick.
Yeah.
Instead of doing like, oh, you want to do something with me?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that shit drives me nuts, and that's again, it's part of the problem with FMA. I find is
No,
you'll
I
tell
agree.
them
Cosplay
you'll
and
chat with people, like, you know, they'll show these videos like, I'm going to show you what happens in a knife scenario, and then it's like two people meet, and just before they get close, they start doing this like tapping stuff. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I know. This is why I looked at other. I know. Yeah. I could go down a real rabbit hole here with as far as FMA knife, just for example, and which is
Or any of it, to be honest.
anyway, but I just see knife. I know it's all. And I totally agree with all you guys. It's not just knife, but
Finally,
I see most. I'm gonna say
Go on,
coming out.
Rene, go on. Listen, I don't teach blade work. Okay, I don't teach defensive tactics against edge weapons until post black belt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I focus on impact tools first. I focus on open hand combatives. The other thing is, I do not want to put a blade in people's hands.
Yeah.
I think they need to be vetted before I do that.
Absolutely, no, absolutely vetting on.
So
people,
there's, I remember, there's some people that busted my chops about this. I'm like, well, I can put a stick in someone's hand. I watch their demeanor. I can put a sword in someone's hand. I still watch their demeanor. There's different. They change. Every tool that you put in the hand, it changes. Put a firearm in their hand. That changes a whole bunch of things going on. There are a lot of mixtures going on, and it's not an easy one that people can carry readily. But I've seen a blade put on people's hands. And the thing I don't like is when you start putting one blade, depending on the Filipino style.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to, and when I say this, I'm not picking on PTK because they are by no means, I mean, they take it to another level. But when you start seeing FMA guys, they start carrying multiple blades. I'm like, why even bother carrying a blade? I mean, can you get around without carrying them? Oh, and they're doing all this deployment stuff. I go, for Christ's sake, you're not even going to be able to get the damn thing out. Someone's going to jump on you. And if you can't do anything unarmed, how the hell are you planning on deploying a blade when someone's grabbing you and punching the shit out of you? And wait a minute, does that really merit a lethal response? When people make these comments, oh, the guy's got a knife, I'll just cut their arm. Dude, if you cut the arm, you've just committed manslaughter at the
I was just asking for directions.
Yeah,
exactly. He's just Master Ken. Yeah, well, you should have. What if they were asking what time it was? You should have asked them across the street. But I mean, when I've heard some people say, "Well, I'll just cut their arm and they'll make the." If you cut the arm deep enough to sever the flexors, you've cut deep enough to sever arteries and veins. So, and listen, when someone pulls out a knife, okay, if someone attacks me in the street, my mindset is to cause as much pain, which is temporary, as humanly possible without causing permanent damage. That's the mindset. Shit may go sideways, but that's my intent. Okay. Yeah. When you deploy any kind of weapon coming after me, you've just lost that whole thing about pain has gone out the window. Now it's about preservation. And the thing here is anyone who's going to be carrying a knife to protect themselves, if you're not prepared to take a life, you just open up a can of worms that you cannot close. I pull a knife out. Well, what if they don't back down? I've been shooting since I was 5 years old. Okay? My father was a state trooper with 100 acres of property. At 8, I learned to hit something other than the ground. But the fact of the matter here, but gravity makes sure I hit something every time. But at the end of the day, my father taught me a very good lesson when it comes to firearms and people. If I'm not prepared to take someone's life, don't pull it out. It's as simple as that. I'm a target shooter. That's what I enjoy doing. I'm a long guns. My specialty is long gun. When I use my shotgun, I use it more like a long gun than anything else. But if I have shot, I'll just shoot the ground in front of you. It'll spread out and get as many people as possible. But that's another story.
I thought it was karaoke.
Yeah, so that way, if I have multiple opponents, I can hit the ground. It spreads out. Works pretty good.
Oh my god, we definitely digress here.
No, see, like my thoughts when it comes to this stuff, and I'm not, that's Tim's view, and I think that's where he goes with it. Like for me, the second that you choose to pick a fight with somebody, like I just don't see them as human anymore. Like if that's what you want to do, and you're trying to hurt me, like how many people do we know or stories you heard of that got into a fight and ended up killing somebody by mistake? The one punch hit their head on the wall, on the floor, or whatever. Like it's just too easy to get really messed up. Like if you're willing to pick a fight with me, then I should not have to hold back on you whatsoever. I just don't care at that point. Like that's. And, again, coming from a security background or even some of the things I've seen in the past, when it gets to the point where someone raises their hands and wants to hit you, it's not because they're trying to, at that point, they want to fuck you up. Like they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, we have to deal with the court system, and that's the only downside about this.
Yeah, again, but at that point, what do you do? Like when the 4 guys jumped me, I didn't throw one of them into traffic because I was afraid that, I might have to.
Oh, I'm not saying I wouldn't do that, but I mean, the thing here is, well, first of all,
I know what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
Well, I'm also saying something publicly, and it's on the record, for the record.
Yeah.
So the thing is, words matter, and if you say something that, hey, listen, and I'm not saying this, okay. But if someone came at me and they were gonna possibly of hurting me or Janice, and I said to them, I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker. Someone hears that. Oh, you said on TV that he would kill someone that tried to come after somebody. I mean, a lot of times we use words that just don't convey properly what we would do if someone came at me. And the thing here is, like, when it's about me, I look at the door. I'm looking for the exit. I'm constantly getting out of there because a friend of mine, a guy he worked with, his buddy was the one that got killed at Ryan's pub on Clifton Hill when he got sucker punched and hit the ground, and it killed him. So I understand about the one punch knockout, the stuff that happens anytime. I mean, you fall down the stairs and you break a neck, and so you put us in a fight. I'm surprised there isn't a higher mortality rate during fights. But we also have to remember what to say to people and help them articulate things properly. And even though our personal belief system, Rene, we were on the show when we talked about EDCs. My go-to is a blade, but the thing here is, this is what I've carried around the world with me, and I haven't always been able to carry a blade everywhere I go. So when we choose tools, I choose tools that I can carry with me everywhere in case I need. But really, my everyday carry is this one right here. But the thing here, if we say certain things, like let's use Paulo Rubio as our example here. He is the last person in the world that can afford to get in a fight because of all the footage and things he's said and done on social media about combatives. If he talks to anybody, if he lays hands on anybody, there's going to be a lawsuit like there's no tomorrow. And he's going to lose everything. His family's going to lose everything. And he may be in prison for quite a long time, even if it is Canada. The fact of the matter here is he paints himself a certain image. And that's why, if you look, you see very little blade work for me online. So I can neither confirm nor deny what my ability to do knife work is. You don't see me doing any shooting, so I cannot confirm or deny my level of proficiency when it comes to firearms and stuff of that nature. Now, we do know that Ty, along with others of our group, have taught at the Virginia Police Academy. So we do have some idea about law enforcement, and we know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, actually, Ty, we've gone. I've been going to the police academy since 2007 as an adjunct instructor with sheepdog combatives. So
Oh, in Virginia. Okay, yeah.
my specialty is teaching defensive tactics against edged weapons for untrained opponents. That's my EDT program is specifically geared for the untrained opponent, the most common opponent out there. And it's a bare bones self-defense program taught to law enforcement. Ty's been there quite a bit when we've done this. Actually, the last one we did the Salem, Massachusetts seminar, I was in Salem. Ty taught the class down there with the team, hopped on the airplane and flew up to meet us up in Salem. So a lot of times when we talk about tactical, I really downplay my tactical background. But if you look, you can see breadcrumbs throughout the social media through decades of me doing this stuff. So that's another reason why I very, very much to poo-poo most of the Filipino martial artists out there, because a lot of them are clueless and they're cosplaying and they can't be honest with themselves, which means they can't be honest with us. But I'm the bad guy because I talk about it, just like when we say, oh, you teach police? No, you don't. You have a police officer as a student. You have a military person as a student. Have you actually taught for the police departments? Ty and I, we've done that. We don't like rubbing into people's faces, but we've done shows on this and like, I teach the police. Really? What agency? Oh, no, this guy. No, shut up with that. Oh, I taught a SEAL. Oh, really? So the SEALs have hired you? No. Well, then, no. So, there's a lot of things that get I get a little wound up. I'm sorry.
No. All right, we're going to go question 4. Okay, so question 4 is correlation to testing. What is your hierarchy as far as art or functionality when you're evaluating your students for grading? So
I go first. I'll keep it simple. I mean, it just depends on the student. That's it.
Okay. Ty.
So let me see if I can express this the way I want to. So
Comments here.
So a lot of times you'll have them do certain things that will show everybody their level of ability to understand and apply, right? The right context. But the other thing is, since that's always been a goal of mine, is to have the applicability context in play always. Even if they're doing something in the air, there's a movement quality you can find believable or applicable, even if they don't have the rest of the skill set yet. In other words, are they developing towards the ability to apply? So you look for improvement, you look for that connection. One of the things we used to say in the Kung Fu side of things is, hey, when they're doing their form, right? Totally art for most people. If they're doing their form and you don't, you can see that they know what they're doing. That's great. Now a little bit better. You can see that they're imagining their opponent. That's great too. Oh, now you can see their opponent when they're doing this. That's even better. So that kind of progression, even when there's not a bellwether of a person standing in front of them with or without pressure, right? So it depends on the student. Sure. It depends on where they were coming from. Depends on where they are at in their own progression, right? Where they need to go. But also there's that underlying connection to feet on the ground as far as, is it believable in an applicable way, right? There's a lot of leeway in that, right? So the answer is it depends. Again, touchstone is martial applicability, is the guiding kind of knife edge that you're trying to guide things by. There's no one-to-one correlation, right? I've had students that have taken, and if we're going to talk ranks, taken years to get, say, from yellow to orange, and those are low ranks, right? Why is that? Well, there was some aspect of what I just said that wasn't clicking for them, and it was my failure. But they were game to keep trying. I was game to keep trying. It was all good. So there was no weirdness like you sometimes get. Oh, I've been here. I should get this. Being here is just the price of admission, right? Being there and doing the work is the starting point. That's a given. Sorry. Anyway, so I don't know if that answers the question, but
No, it does. No, thank you. It does. Rene, so you're gonna come from different, because I'm not even sure if you give rank or what you do, but if you do give rank, what is, I guess, your spectrum and from what you teach and coming more from the functional aspect, I guess, what's the correlation if you do test or whatever?
I do rank,
Okay.
and I have, I think in the last, I don't know, 20 years, I think I had maybe 5 people that I've actually given a rank to, through like Kirby Kerbong or any of the other stuff I was doing. For me, it's all functionality though. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And the way, I don't know, I guess the way I rank things now, like if I see someone who can't do a roof block, then I have everybody attack them until they get that roof block kind of under control. And if they can't do a roof block, then I go, well, you need to work on this, and well, work on it, or you have to find something else that's going to work for you, because maybe that may not work for you because of whatever issues you may have, whether it's a timing issue or whether it's just your disability or just your inability to grasp that concept. So again, I pressure test constantly, and I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but it's, for me, it works the best way to develop someone to do something. So that's what I kind of do. I don't know. I grew up in a different part of the world, and I found that being uncomfortable teaches you really quickly. And that's why, when I first came to Canada, I didn't speak any English. So when I lived in South America, my Spanish wasn't the same as theirs. You have to adapt. You have to get thrown in the mix. And for me, when it comes to any kind of combative stuff, I don't wait. Your first day in my class is going to be really uncomfortable, and that's what I consider my reality, and trying to make them understand what they're in store for. I just don't like lying to people when it comes to this stuff, right? I've maybe like some of you guys, I've trained in arts where they lied to me, flat out lied to me about what they're.
Yeah.
And then when I went out there and because of the life that I was living at the time, I found out really quickly if it worked or not. And I'm just not into that. And especially now, as I get older, and I have to learn how to use what I have now compared to when I was younger. I just don't want to be lied to or lied to the people that I'm training. So what I do is because I also teach the cultural part of the art for those who really want to learn it. Again, I'm not the best at it. I'll send them in different directions, and they'll usually get ranked, but they'll still give me the. I know guys that have been ranked in Krabi Krabong and have a decent ranking right now, but they still call me their main Krabi Krabong instructor because I was the guy that brought them there, right? So I don't know if that answered that question.
No, you did. Yeah. Yeah, you rank and all that, and you're coming more from the functionality lens.
Yeah, just for me, it's a what's the point kind of scenario, right? I don't care about looking good, clearly. My best martial arts kind of story for me, or self-defense story, was a friend of mine that came back when he first moved from Poland. He was walking down the street, and 2 guys are walking towards him, so he just grabbed a big rock. And he was ready to roll, right? He was ready to go, and I was like, "That's martial arts to me. That's someone who's like, that's reality for me, right?" He wasn't gonna go like, "Oh, are you ready?" He was like, "I'm gonna hide this rock in my pocket. When the first guy comes close, I'm gonna crush his skull with it." And I was like, "Wow, that's martial arts."
Yeah, that's martial. Yeah, for sure. Oh man! All right, that was question 4. All right. So this last question, one of my teachers brought this up to me one time, and he had a pretty strong opinion on it. Before I disclose that, though, when I ask this question, I want you guys to look at it through the lens of kind of an intermediate student or practitioner. It doesn't necessarily have to be a student, or somebody who's advanced, has been around for years. And if they can separate the two, and the two that I'm referencing is, can you be an artist and a functionalist at the same time? So with the lens, again, an intermediate that maybe can't break the two, or maybe they've just been exposed to one and they wouldn't even know how to do it. but and compare and contrast to somebody who's been around for a long time, and maybe they can separate the two. So you know what, Rene, I'm going to bounce this off you first. This question was really for you. So what say you?
Could you just give me the first part of the question again?
Yeah. So basically, look at it from the lens of maybe like somebody intermediate, maybe whatever, 5 years, for example, in the game, and then look at it from somebody who's has a long tenure. And basically, the question is, can you be an artist and a functionalist at the same time?
Yes. But for me, is do you want to be? I think that's what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to me. There was a point in my life where I was really, really interested in the, the art side of it. And then and then the practical side of me was like, hey, that's cool. And I know that now, or I know as much of it as I want, but that's not where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not where I want to be. So I decided to go on the other side of that. I still have my foot on the other side, but there's people out there who just really love the art.
Yeah.
So
There's
I'm like,
nothing
hey,
wrong with that.
cool with me. Like if you really want to know the art and the dances and then the proper terms and the salutes and everything else, super cool. But just know what you're doing. I think that's what it comes down to. It's just like, sometimes people come up to me and they'll speak about martial arts terms, or like whether it be Filipino or Thai or any other arts that I studied. And I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Because I've just kind of erased that from my mind because I don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
I was doing a
No,
warm up one time at a seminar, and I was doing I was doing one of the 4 directions dances, which I always like to do when I'm warming up. And this guy got beside me, and he started doing like this wide crew dance beside me. And I stopped him, like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm doing the complimentary dance to your dance. I'm like, no, like I'm I'm doing my own thing, just like, bugger off. And I don't know what he was trying to impress me, or if he was actually doing the art part of it that he wanted to do as well. But I was like, get lost. So for me, yes, you can be both. It's whether you want to be, if that's your thing. But I think in the end, I don't know. We all do martial arts for different reasons.
sure.
And I think it all depends on what you want out of it. And what I want out of it is probably not what a lot of people want out of it. I don't want the recognition. I was at a place when I was getting ranked, and I realized they're giving out ranks, so I snuck out because I had a feeling they were going to call me up, and I'm just not into that. It's just I'd rather let what I do talk for me. And the day that I can't do it is the day that I just bow out and say thanks. It's been good.
Nice. No, I can appreciate that. Yeah. Definitely. Datu.
I think it's on upbringing. I think it's based on how they were brought up.
Okay.
I don't see why people can't do, like I said, martial art, martial sport, martial combat. I do all 3. I have different people that focus on different things. Now, what's been my focus as of late? Well, I'm concerned about the art moving forward, and there's a generation afterwards. So I'm focusing more on the art and propagating the art. But one of our requirements for black belt, actually and people will have done it. Well, my school, they do it from the beginning, is you got to fight. You got to spar. You got to put the gloves on. And the thing here is, not that I got bad people, but no matter how much they talk about control, that's a subjective term. So everyone learns how to throw a punch, and even more people learn how to take a punch. Not that I want to, it's like we're not trading punches, but everyone knows in my club what it's like to get hit. But right now, my focal point. So I think you can blend the 2 together, or blend all 3 together. Now a person may not be. Well, once again, it talks about honesty. I've got a guy coming in next month to help my competition team, and I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be maxed out of where I can take them in certain types of competition without getting a consultant to come in and help level me up along with everyone else. I'm doing things outside my comfort zone, just as a challenge. The shoulder knee has set me back again, but I'm hoping by the end of the year, beginning of next year, I might be taking my blue belt test. They've seen me put all the time and the effort in there, but they're going to modify certain things because they know I have a physical disability at the moment, to the point where we're looking at possibly a lawsuit. And you saw me at the one camp at Terry's where I could barely walk.
Mm.
But I mean,
I think I was making fun of you. No, just kidding.
Everyone was making fun of me.
Just kidding.
No, that was the
I did the
singing.
demo and people were like, damn. Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna roll up in a wheelchair, bang, 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 and then I'm gonna hit the button. It's gonna shoot. Be like, but the fact of the matter is that I don't think everyone is capable of doing the job. They may not have been brought up to be able to do that. It may not be their own fault. It could be who their teachers were.
I think that's a great point. Like if they, right, exactly. Maybe they didn't even have the option, again, to even choose based on the upbringing. Yeah.
You're brought up in an MMA environment.
Yeah.
You're brought up in a hard school of knocks type club. Most likely there's not children there. There might not even be women there because with all the testosterone floating around, it may have really hampered to be an environment. I mean, it might be an environment women should be in there, but they might not want to put themselves because it's too uncomfortable for them. I've got a fitness kickboxing program, and one of the girls were checking out one of the other clubs, and the coach goes, one girl quit because the coach goes, will you stop looking at her tits and get back to working out? But it's a boxing club, and I'm like, I get it. I wouldn't want to yell it out in any situation. I might walk up to the guy afterwards and go, stop it. I had gymnastics students with very endowed, wearing shirts with holes in here because the competitions would encourage that kind of stuff. And I finally went, listen, you're too distracting. I grabbed the t-shirt out of my locker and go, put the t-shirt on, so I addressed it without being really too overt about it. But the thing here is, if you were brought up by wolves or by Rene, you might not have the social skills. This is for all the memes he's putting out with me with weird faces and stuff like that.
or the pictures he's taking.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He's turning them into memes. I can tell. It's gonna be out there next week. Oh, by the way, Remy. But anyways, I want to see these shots. But I won't fault someone for not being taught to do things.
No, I think that's a good point. Like if they weren't even exposed or even had the option to choose,
Well, and like I told the kids today, I had some people walk through the door said the same thing. I go because people asked about tournaments. I go, we are a school that will go to tournaments, but we are not a tournament school. And so and that's probably like 10% of my clients do the tournaments. Maybe 20%. And we don't do anything in our class, and there's not any prep for the tournament that's not beneficial for our martial arts training. Every form we do is a requirement. Now, will I teach them some tricks and stuff of that nature? Well, of course. But the fact of the matter is, everything they're doing goes towards our curriculum. It's just that we're going to tweak a little so they can do better in that environment. Just like I say, all right, let's look at, the number one sport combination, back fist, reverse punch. Okay, that could be jab high, cross low. Same thing. Except not with this one. We can take sport things, make them more combative. We can take combative things, make them more sport. We can make it more of a holistic thing. Ty and I talked about it multiple times of taking our niece forms and doing it more in a Tai Chi manner that will help with structure, help make people have better forms, and also have a holistic, healthy benefit for our people. But not selling out, just doing our forms in another way that'll have more dimension to the training.
Yeah. Okay. Ty, same question.
I'm going to take a slightly different tack.
Sure.
I think the answer is yes. I think everybody agrees on that. I'm going to take a different tack in the sense that, hey, even if you're teaching pure applicable combatives in whatever context you want to do, say you want to be street balling or say you want to be ambushing, you're teaching certain ways to move, and you're telling them, hey, when you throw this uppercut, you better do this, that, and the other thing, because that's how you get more power, or whatever it happens to be. There's a science there, and a certain amount of that science becomes sort of an art, because guess what? The technique that you show is never going to work that way, always guaranteed, right? The technique is not the thing that works. Your application of that technique works, and that depends on a lot of things. And the training that gets you there, there's a lot of science and art on that side of things. Now, like I said, I approach things in terms of, hey, is it believable? Is it going to work? Is it doing the right attributes? So, hey, when you apply it and make your magic thing that makes it work, going to have the effect that you want it to have, that's great. But just I'd keep in mind that if you're expecting someone to move better, or for this skill to work for them, you've already crafted in some aspects of science and or art, depending on how you decide to look at these things. And I don't want to dismay that. The idea where I talked about, hey, this technique, we don't teach. I mean, you might teach technique. This is a good technique. It's tried and true. You can go take that step back further, right? Somebody mentioned, I think it might have been Tim, this move's made up. Guess what? All moves are made up. Some are tried and true and tested and have worked enough for people that they seem worth putting the effort in. But I think we need to be honest about that on both directions, right? Your expectations and where they come from and why you think this move, why I think I can say you're doing that right. There's something more than just applicability, right? You could say you did it right because you knocked that guy out, but you're not always knocking that guy out. And I'm going to still tell you you're doing it right or wrong. Why? Because I know something about power generation. I know something about some details I'm looking for, which becomes the science piece of it, then it taps into art. So I'm saying there can be a spectrum depending on how you look at it. Not the spectrum we talked about earlier, but I think at least for me, I find that I try to look at things from the best that I can draw out of all the different ways I can think of to look at something. And then I get a better view of the whole. I liken something. If I teach you some material, look at it as a fist. If I only teach you to look at the fist this way, you're going to think a fist starts with a pinky knuckle. You're not going to know that, guess what? There's a hole on the other side where the thumb is wrapped around and whatnot. If I teach you things a bunch of different ways, you're looking at this fist from all different perspectives, and then you can understand the fist better and how you might want to use it. So is that science? Is that art? Is that combat? Yes, depending on where we go, what your expectations are, what my ability to communicate is, and what your ability is to do the work and interpret. So little fluffy, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to.
I definitely get it. I think the fist, your analogy there, I thought that was excellent. Yeah, so I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah,
I use something similar where it's like the fist is the knowledge and this is the application, and you have to figure. Oh, never mind.
Where you going there?
Is there a gel that goes with that?
there was that too was a great analogy. This is why we bring you on, Rene, because it's never gonna be a dull moment.
Can we get a T-shirt that's just this?
We could. Episode 355.
It's like the Kung Fu salute, but with a finger instead of all the fingers. Right?
Yes.
Jeez, it was 355. Oh, 404.
Was it 404?
Yeah.
Like I said, they're like this now. They're just
Exactly.
So it'll be the Rene playlist.
It still brings a tear to my eye. Look at this. It's amazing.
I know many still can't watch 355 in its entirety without taking breaks.
There's so many emails I get about people's lives that have changed.
For the better or for the worse?
It's just so hard to be humble sometimes.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, hey guys, that was the 5 questions.
Hey, Paulo's here. We were just talking about you, dude. Well, actually, I was talking about you.
You were talking about
You
it.
summoned him by mentioning his name.
Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't. Of course, it wasn't
This
anything
is
bad.
this humor about jabbing at each other, I think, is very important. I think you can't do that unless you have an honesty and you're comfortable with yourself, and that begets comfort in others. And I think that's a good thing. Sorry, I just got distracted by that because honesty is part of what we're talking about today, and I think it's important.
I think so too. I think there's a good. I think this is a good fusion of you guys having you on here of the 3 different, because I knew all 3 of you are going to come from different perspectives based on your background and experience, and of course Rene bringing an added element. We've yet to be able to describe that added element, but there is.
You're on the periodic table.
I'm bringing the periodic table.
But awesome. We're close to 2 hours, but I really appreciate you guys doing this. I thought it went well. What do you guys think?
Yeah, what's Danny say? Isn't the individual expression of technique the art?
Wait a second. This is live?
Oh, yeah. I thought this was the dry run.
Nice.
Yeah. But awesome. Any final thoughts, Rene?
Oh, I can't see any of the comments, so I'll just say, the one thing with the people that I train, I kind of try to have a culture within our group. We're not just a bunch of brawlers, but we're out to really make sure that we fine tune everything. Unfortunately, the way I like to do it is just to really beat each other up. And it keeps me honest, because it doesn't mean that I'm the bear all the time, right? Like sometimes you are the bear and sometimes the bear eats you. And I think the big thing for me is training people like that who are like-minded. So that's my honesty. My honesty is the people around me.
Okay.
And again, it's and I don't shit on anybody who does things differently. It's just
you should roll it, makes them happy, and they're being integrity and honesty to their community and their students.
A friend of mine, he was in a video once and he was saying, this is my art, my interpretation, and this is kind of how I interpret my art. And my interpretation is team violence, right? I just I enjoy what I do, until I can't do it anymore. And then after that, like I said, it's time for me to walk away.
Yeah, I can't wait to train with you. And
At the Harm Farm we say yay violence, but yeah.
Yay violence.
Yay violence.
Speaking of which, so Ty, any closing thoughts?
I think I sort of tapped on the end there of that. I think for me, some of the honest that I get back for the training of students, we say this a lot, and I don't know that everybody means it the same way I do. So I try to phrase it, start a different way. I start with, hey, I'm a greedy bastard with all of the martial arts I want to do, and I want to get the best understanding, skill, knowledge, all of that things, whatever the spectrum is, out of that. And to do that, I need some people to push me. So if I don't live with those people, which I don't, and I don't have those people around me all the time, the next I can do is try to make my students be able to do that for me. And my goal is to make them better than me so they can push me. So guess what? I can get better because I'm a greedy bastard. So it keeps me honest. It keeps me focused on results for whatever we define those results are. And I think we have some similarities here and we have some differences. But I think the key is that honesty of expectations, right? But that's what I look for out of that. It keeps me honest when I get that feedback. It keeps me honest if they're not getting something. I first take it on as my responsibility, right? So there's a lot of aspects of that feedback of honesty. Again, I pull it back to me being greedy. I want to get, understand, do, be able, and then pass it on the best I can because it's all really, really cool. So that goes back to my starting point. But why is it cool? That goes back to, hey, some of the discussions we had here today, because it can work because you can get better, because any number of reasons what people might want to do martial arts. And as Rene said, everybody's got a different reason, different goal, and that can change over time. And that's okay too, right? That's where, again, honesty helps. So anyway, enough rambling some more. Sorry.
No, thank you. Datu, closing thoughts? Faithfully.
Oh, you went listen, and we talked. I mean, I just mentioned it. If you don't, you gotta know what you're talking about. Here's the problem. Here's the thing. I don't give a damn if you're all a bunch of McDojos. It's fine. If you're offering things for people, that's fine. But if people are coming to you to learn how to protect themselves, that's when we have to draw the line.
Yeah, ethic. Yeah, I mean, again,
so
right.
There are people out there that I don't think should be teaching seminars. There's people out there that I think they're clueless in certain things. But I mean, when I taught seminars, I shouldn't have been teaching seminars either. But I taught fundamentals about what we were doing. I wasn't teaching self-defense. I taught the arts. So I was very specific about certain things. If someone is coming to you to learn how to protect themselves, and they're upfront with you, or your job, you have to ask the question, why are you here? So like on our forms that you fill out the waiver on the bottom, it talks about, it has a bunch of different things there. And you rate the importance in order. What's the most important thing to you? Self-defense is one of those things. Some people put it's the last thing on the list. Some people put it's the first thing on the list. So, so if people come to you to learn how to protect themselves and you're teaching them things, make sure you know your shit works. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Once again, if we have McDojos in our knees, that's fine. That means we're bigger. We've gotten bigger because we can have McDojos in our knees. Although I think there are a few out there already. There's definitely the puppy mills of our industry. But the thing here is, if all they're worrying about the art, then it doesn't hurt us. It doesn't do anything. But once someone comes to you and they're talking about how to protect themselves or their family, we have a moral responsibility
ethical
to do what's right, which could easily be saying, I don't do that. Go to the school down the road.
Yeah. Right. No, I go as far as I think it's ethical. And like you said, and that's, I think, where the integrity, honesty, where, where, like you said, you would reference them to somebody else.
But I mean, listen, we know that unfortunately it's just unfortunately our system comes from a very corrupt country. And when you have and I actually was just interviewed for a paper, and the person put things to me, a Filipino, put things to me in a better way. It's like, when you are in that corrupt environment, it all trickles down. And sometimes the Filipinos that I've dealt with, their moral compass is calibrated differently. And I go over and I say, listen, for those who want to train over there, buyer beware, because there's a whole bunch of people over there who are trying to prey on naive tourists going over there. But it's not just the Philippines. The Chinese do it with their Shaolin temple. There's everyone that does the same damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, right. It's not just the Philippines.
We can't do that. When people are coming to us, we need to do the right thing.
No, for self-defense, absolutely.
But that's been passed down because, where did the Filipino martial arts come from? Okay, the Philippines. And there's a bunch of cultural things that we've inherited. Some are good and some aren't. And, I remember, well, I'm not, never mind. We'll end it there. It's going to open up cans.
No, that's right. Awesome. Well, hey, appreciate you guys coming on. Rene, I'm so happy that you agreed to come on with your suggestion.
What episode is this now? That'll go down in the annals of FMA discussion.
What's that?
I don't think it's going to any anals, buddy.
What episode is this? What number?
This is episode 445.
Okay, so everyone, must boycott this episode because it's just going to go on the Rene playlist. So you're definitely having way too much play here. So now it's going to become a Rene.
I'm running out of places to tattoo these numbers, to be honest.
There we go.
It all started with-
People come up to me, they're like,
with
what's
You can
455?
tattoo it on your
What's
children's
355?
butt.
I was going to get 355 on my knuckles, but people, it just,
Well, get your kid a neck tattoo. There we go.
yeah, there we go.
Yes.
That'll go over like
Rich.
very well with the wife.
Actually, and if anybody's watching this, if again, if you would like to come on, basically discuss the same question I asked these guys, you're more than welcome. If you have it, maybe perhaps a different lens or stuff you can add to what they mentioned, I'm all ears. So let me know.
How would you follow the three of us? I mean, really, or why would you want to follow Rene? Let's just put it right there.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, I've been followed a few times.
Okay.
I mean, it's due to the notoriety of you being on FMA discussion. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let's say that.
Yeah.
Hey, weren't you the guy in episode? Were you the guy that was interviewed for episode 355 and 404? I recognize you.
Well, I'm at the range.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a second.
We
What
are
are you
so
doing? Is it
wrong.
wrong? But weren't you
We
on
are
355?
so wrong.
Oh my God. I can't believe that guy was Microsoft, whatever software, whatever, and he's telling you to do that. I could just see you like, buddy, just get that.
Well, unfortunately, it's part of my personality. Like, there's been times where people talk to me, and my wife will sit there and just like walk away because she knows.
She just knows there's something going on.
She knows Renee's inner dialogue. Oh, this is not going to end well.
All right, kids, come on. We're gonna go over here now.
I think I'm at Home Depot and I'm looking at a saw, and a guy walks up to me and he's like, "Excuse me, are you a professional or a do-it-yourselfer?" I'm like, "Why do you ask?" And he's like, "Well, you're looking at the Bosch 10-inch saw instead of this Makita 12-inch saw." Well, I'm like, "What? Are you professional or are you a DIYer?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a professional." I go, "Well, what the fuck are you doing working at the Home Depot?" Like just fuck off.
I can just see Rene taking this off.
Just cut 2 dowels and put them in my ears. Just shut up.
Oh my God! Can you imagine following Rene out around in a store? that would be.
Or the self-checkout. Like, this happened to me today, actually. I was at the self-checkout. My phone rang. And I got, like, one of my projects has turned into a shit show. And I'm trying to, like, check my stuff out. And the lady started grabbing the scanner thing and tried to take it out of my hand. It actually became like a wrestling match between the two of us. I was like, get lost. We're on the phone.
Was that an employee or was that the next person in line?
I hope it was an employee.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Come to think about it. Man, well, guys, awesome. I thank you. I appreciate you guys coming on doing this.
That was a pleasure seeing you and Ty.
Yeah,
There you go.
Oh, sorry, and Tim.
Remy. Remy. You better get caught up with those shots.
And the comments, there were a ton of comments. So, that. But awesome. Well, hey, I don't get to talk to you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend.
Before you go, Dean, one of the things that came up at the end here, I think, would spark another show. Let me send you a message about that later. It might give you an idea.
Oh, no, I would appreciate that. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And all right, guys, because I got to get up. I'm off to Florida. I'm going to see Tom Sodas tomorrow. So.
Didn't you just got back from Atlanta?
Yeah, this was this
Why
was.
did you stay down there?
Because when Atlanta got planned, it wasn't planned for me to go see Tom, so it was kind of a last minute thing, but not the most ideal situation. I'm actually, much as I'm looking forward to see Tom, I'm not really looking forward to like leaving this house again and the kids and I don't travel well. So
you also don't play well with others, but whatever.
No, thank you for that, Datu.
I got you.
Actually, you don't know. I got here for an ending clip, Datu. I don't.
Oh no!
I saw. I was like, "What the hell is he putting on here?" So it's going to be interesting, obviously.
Wait. Here's the thing. I'm good. Okay.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
You are?
Okay, I know.
Oh, come on. I'm waiting
for it.
I actually give you so much credit for doing it. I'm actually gonna hide myself.
Oh, you bastard! You better not have. He better not have.
You know he's doing it.
Oh, you bastard! Oh. Oh,
Oh, girl, you stand by me. I'm forever yours. Faithfully.
That is such a touching moment. Wow, I can't get 5 on here. That
Okay.
is
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, and oh, that's okay. You got 5 on there. I got 5 right
You know
here.
what? That's so strange.
Next time I
honest to
see
God.
you, you're gonna get my 5. You might get 10, buddy.
Come on now. That was a very touching moment for me in Massachusetts. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Tim, it's not about the 5. It's about having.
That was very matter of fact. I still get teary eyed when I watch that.
This?
Oh no, not that, Rene.
You know. Matter of fact, my regret is I actually didn't. I didn't take more of that film. You know.
Well, like they said on the show the one time, you can't be a Filipino master if you don't karaoke. So
Yeah, I know, and I don't have
Dean,
karaoke skills.
Can you send that to me? I want to auto tune it.
of course you do.
Datu, come on, we love you. If we didn't that, we wouldn't bust your chops, right? Come on.
That's the only thing you can bust my chops on, so go for it.
Who loves you? Huh?
Oh yay, fine. Oh yay.
My ear. Oh, Tim, it was beautiful. You had to be there. If you were there, you would not be saying this, Tim. It was a beautiful moment.
Oh, May just made the point saying that, look, you got a score of 83. I'm like, okay, all right, whatever.
Chris Nolly, if you're still watching, please let me know. I definitely want to get you on sooner than later. People are continuously requesting you.
We had a good visit with him recently.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah, I'm dying to get him on. Everybody's been suggesting him. It's the most Philippine thing to do is make fun of friends. So come on, that was precious.
That was something.
And at the end, just the climax. Faithfully.
I guess you're right, Rene. It is all about that. He's talking about his climax, so okay.
Oh boy.
Yikes.
This will be the first episode that gets banned from YouTube.
Right.
Oh no. No. I'll sure that won't happen. All right, guys. Hey, as much as I would love to continue to talk, I have to get up very early.
It's time to end the show.
Off to see Tom Sodas. It's supposed to be, I'm so disappointed. I look at the weather in West Palm, and of course, it's going to be rainy down there. So, yeah, I won't be going to Sunshine. But at any rate, all right, guys. If I don't talk to you, you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Catch you later.
Oh, and Dato, I got to talk to you. I'm going to talk to Tom about your suggestion.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. So just I wanted to let you know I did.
Ethereum. Don't do Bitcoin. Ethereum. That's the way to go. Actually, you should ask Ty. He'll tell you all about it.
I'm doing both.
Okay.
And you guys make FMA fun. Well, that's nice.
Aw.
Yeah. I think it's more. I think it's more.
That's right.
My follow-up will be either Wheel in the Sky or Lights. That'll be the next year's.
You do Wheel in the Sky? You promise?
I'll make sure it's in the repertoire.
I will pay.
God, I promise. I will film.
I like to move it.
Yeah.
But you can pay me a lot of money, but with the Canadian exchange, that won't be like $1.50. So what's in it for me?
The fame.
I I can't wait to. Oh my god, I'm gonna make sure I get more than 20 seconds of video too on Wheel in the Sky. Oh my god.
Or It's Raining Men. That'd be a good one too.
Oh, I could do that. Yeah, there we go.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah, this
Okay.
this is definitely gonna be the first episode kicked off of YouTube. I can see it.
No, I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Oh, if I put the protest, it will.
Oh my god, you're gonna do that? Please shut down FMA discussion. They.
This episode made me look bad. No, you made you look bad.
All right,
All
all
right,
right, guys.
time, Dean. Shut the hell up. It's time to go.
Gotta roll. All right, you guys take care.
All right, catch you
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Try to stay out of trouble, Rene.
Yeah. What's the point?
Valid response. All right, Datu.
All right,
Love
catch
you.
you later.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, folks, that wraps up 445. Who is next? Hopefully Chris Nolly is next. And if he's not, there are a few folks. Monty Powell, he's coming on to talk about his book on stick. Incredible what he's done with that. And Burton's coming on the 22nd to talk about his release of the KIR program. And who else? A couple guys coming on to do just demos. And I think Joe Hungar, we're going to talk about his book. That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely some episodes coming up. But just check out for my discussion. It'll be pinned when the next episode is. Who and when. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I will hopefully will see you soon.